pardon applicants.
Oh, there's Jerry.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're just going to get started in about 1 minute here. All right, so good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Nelsister, and I'm the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel and also Chair of the Pardon Advisory Board. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to jump right into things. So the first item is just letting everybody know, and I think you've been notified of this already, but this is a public meeting, meaning that in addition to the other pardon applicants who will be here today, we are also streaming this to make it available to the public, since we are a public body. So this is being streamed on YouTube and Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. So just keep that in mind. In order to preserve audio quality and also assist with streaming, it looks like everybody's muted, but if you're not, please mute yourself when it's somebody else's turn to speak, just so that we can preserve audio quality. And then the other thing is, just because we are streaming, if you wouldn't mind, and until it's your turn to appear before the board, if you wouldn't mind just turning your camera off. If you need to know how to do it, it's in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and it's the little stop video button. You can just click on that, and then your picture won't show until it's your time to speak. So how we're going to be, it might be a little bit different on if you're using your phone. The other thing for today is I'm just going to go through in terms of doing introductions, and then I'll say how the process will be working. So we have a couple members of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board with us today. We have Judge Jeff Kremers. Judge Kremers is a retired judge from Milwaukee County and the former chief judge of Milwaukee County of District 1. We also have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who's Assistant Deputy Secretary at the Department of Children and Families and a former public defender. We have Cindy O'Donnell, who is with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and previously with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. And then we have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project and a former state and county prosecutor. So we're going to be, in terms of process today, we have about 10 to 20 minutes with each individual who is scheduled for the hearing today. We are going to be going through, we're going to be calling you in the order that you are listed on the public meeting notice. So we're going to be starting with Anthony Zimdars and then going to Stephen Allen and proceeding so forth. Oops, sorry, we have a little bit of audio. There we go. Sorry. When it's your turn to speak, the governor's office did send you a couple of questions. I would like you to address those. In short, we want to hear from you in your own words in terms of the specific circumstances involving your crime. So we want to know why you did it, what you did exactly. We're very interested in knowing that. In your justifications. We also want to know what you did afterwards, how it played out and why you're here today and why you believe you've earned a pardon or deserve to get a pardon from the governor. And so after we hear from everybody today, we will be meeting in closed session and we will be taking votes on whether or not we believe you have earned the right to a pardon. If you receive majority support from the board members present, your application will be forwarded to Governor Evers, who will make a final determination on whether or not to grant your pardon. If you don't receive majority support, or if Governor Evers rejects your application will be denied, and you'll have an opportunity to reapply for a pardon in 18 months. If you are forwarded to Governor Evers and he does approve it, he will issue you a pardon, and that will occur. Usually it takes a couple of weeks from today's hearing before you are notified either of a denial or that you were granted a pardon. So just please be patient. And with that, we will proceed with our first applicant. So Anthony Zimdars. It looks like you are on, so if you wouldn't mind just turning your camera on and unmuting yourself, and please proceed in terms of sharing your story with us. So Anthony?
Yeah, hi, my name's Anthony Zimdars. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
Good morning. So just a little bit about of my case and background with that. Back in 2006, and really, I would say 5 to 6 years leading up to that, I was in a really bad addiction to alcohol and drugs. And during that period of my life, I got involved with selling drugs, not necessarily to really make money, but to more or less support my habit. And this particular instance, I was using cocaine, and as a part of that process, I was selling it here and there to friends and people in my circle, I guess you could say. And this particular time, I think it was in August of 2006, according to the criminal complaint, acquaintance of mine had wore a wire on me and performed a controlled buy in conjunction with the Jefferson County Task Force unit. And I sold him 3.5 grams of cocaine. So that was the first part of the case in question, I guess, for the pardon. And then there was also a felony bail jumping, which basically occurred because I was already on bail for a different case, drug related. The crime with delivering cocaine stimulated that felony bail jumping charge. So as a part of my plea agreement, I pled, I believe it was guilty, either guilty or no contest to those two charges on that case. And I ended up serving, I want to say, about 14 months in Walworth County for that particular charge. And then I was also, as a part of that case, sentenced to 3 years felony probation. I did successfully complete that probation, and I provided just a couple supporting documents to confirm that my probation was successfully discharged and completed with Jefferson County in conjunction with those felony charges. And I guess moving forward, as far as why I'm here today and what's transpired since then, things look a little bit differently for me today. Fast forward a few years after that case and that charge, I ended up kind of reaching a bottom with my alcohol and drug use, and I decided that I didn't want to die. So I got sober, and I'm actually a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I've been sober coming up on 12 years this coming May. So throughout this time of sobriety, obviously, I've got a different perception on my life. I've really just kind of reestablished my faith. It was really kind of where it started for me in 2009. I made a decision that I wasn't going to live for me, and I wanted to live for God. And that kind of goes hand in hand with being an AA as part of what our program is. We have a kind of a spiritual approach to life, and that's been absolutely vital and transformational for me and how I interact with the world around me. And it's given me tools to completely change everything about how I relate to people, to being employable when I was not employable before. And it's most importantly, just kind of given me a purpose to my life that I've never had before. With being in the program, I get to help other alcoholics and addicts stay sober, which is pretty cool. So, my family's riddled with alcoholics and drug addicts, and it's been a rough few years. I lost my brother a few years ago to an overdose, and last year during quarantine, actually, my niece, 15 years old, took her own life in my parents' basement. And so I'm no stranger to the disease and the ramifications that it has. And the good news is that I get to stop the cycle with me and my family. I now have a wife. I have 3 boys. I have twin boys that are 2 years old, Silas and Titus, and then my oldest is 4. His name's Ezekiel. I've been gainfully employed pretty much ever since I got sober, which also was kind of reflected in the pardon packet that I filled out I'm currently employed as a business manager at Van Horn Ford here in Oconomowoc, and I've been here, just celebrated 4 years today, actually. So that's been a great experience and a good opportunity to provide for my family. And as far as why I want this pardon, to be honest with you, back before I got involved with alcohol and drugs, some of my favorite memories growing up with my dad was going hunting with him. And that's something that I would obviously love to kind of reconnect with him on now that I'm sober. You know, our relationship has kind of been restored and healed, and it'd be just nice to go hunting with him in the wintertime. And then obviously now that I got my own 3 boys, I'd love to be able to share that with them as they grow up and get older. And I'm a big outdoorsman, so I love fishing and I'd love to hunt, and obviously firearm is kind of part of that equation for me. I do have a bow, but I'd like to also have the option to participate in gun hunting. So I don't know if that in a nutshell kind of explains what we're looking for as far as information, but I guess I'll turn it back over to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Do members of the board have questions for him? Judge?
Good morning, and congratulations on your 12 years sober. That's a great achievement. I'd like to go back and talk about the sequence that led to your change in your life. You were selling cocaine, it looks like. Were you also selling other drugs as well during this period of time?
So my substance abuse primarily centered around cocaine and marijuana. So there was, outside of these felony charges that are kind of in question with this review, I did have some misdemeanor possession charges that I dealt with Walworth County prior to that, leading up to this case.
So that's actually what I was going to ask about next. It looks like, so you were put on probation in July of 2007 for this felony case.
Yep.
But I see there's also a possession of marijuana from 2007. Was that before or after you got put on probation?
I believe it was before. I don't hold me to that just because it's been so long, and obviously everything that transpired with my charges and stuff, they kind of just happened all at once. So it's, hard for me to give you a specific answer of which came before the other, but I believe the possession of THC charge did occur before the delivery of cocaine charge.
Okay, thank you.
Cindy?
Good morning. Applicants are encouraged but not required to submit letters of support. And I noticed you did not submit any letters, and I'm curious as to why you made that choice.
I guess just maybe an oversight on my part. I felt like based on the information supporting my own personal story and where I'm at in my life, and the fact that I can convey that to you without a shred of doubt as far as where I'm at in my life today, the strides that I've made to correct my life, become a productive member of society, and just change my life around. Obviously, some letters of support would have hurt that, but I felt like I could adequately convey that to you in a personal hearing here with you.
Thank you.
And Jerry?
Are you a member of a regular AA group in Oconomowoc?
I am actually. I go to the Lake Area Club. I'm believe it or not, Jerry. I live about 5 minutes from that Alano Club, so that's kind of a hot spot for me. They have a 12 and 12 Monday night meeting at 8, and then the Wednesday night is it's "Don't take yourself too serious" or something like that. I can't remember. It's some quirky slogan that they have at that, but that's an 8 o'clock meeting too. So those are meetings that I do frequent, especially with my work schedule at the dealership. I tend to work a lot of times till 7, 8 o'clock, and it's nice to be able to sneak over there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Anthony. As you heard me say at the beginning, we'll be in touch with you in the next few weeks in terms of the board's decision and possibly Governor Evers' decision, but appreciate you taking the time to share your story with us.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the advisory board for your time today and your consideration, and God bless you guys.
Thank you. All right, next we'll be hearing from Stephen Allen Jr. So Stephen, if you wouldn't mind, there you go. All right, so you now saw how this works, and so if you wouldn't mind proceeding, sharing your story with us.
My name is Steve Allen, and first I'd like to say thank you for your time and giving me the opportunity to speak. In October of 2003, I was charged with 3 felonies of non-payment of child support for my now 22-year-old son. At the time of the crime, I was a young man with no guidance, no anything. I came from a poverty background. To sum it up, in a few words, I'm the oldest of 4 children. I have 3 younger sisters. All of us have different fathers, none of which paid child support or anything of that nature. So knowing how to pay child support or anything to do with anything like that just was beyond my comprehension up until 2003. During that time, when I was convicted, I pled guilty to the charges and was given 7 years probation. After receiving the 7 years probation, I then started to get my life. I completely understood what it meant at that time after receiving those felonies, what child support was and what I needed to do. It was still a rough road. I was, again, a young man, just wild, blowing in the wind. It was a rough road getting started, but I was able to do it. I began paying my child support. I paid it regularly, on time. I met with the probation officers. I slowly started to become involved in my community, which was at the time Superior, Wisconsin, a small place. Slowly started to become involved with the community. Got myself involved in church and those kind of things, and started helping there. Where I kind of learned faith, and that kind of took control of the rest of my life and continued to catapult me forward to the point to where I had 2 more children outside of my oldest son. I was married and doing all of those things. Since the completion of the since the completion of my sentence, I had continued to pay child support all the way till he was 18 and continue to take care of him. I petitioned the court so I could see him because there was an issue with me seeing him. And I continued to provide support to my son and try to be there any way I can. He actually embraced that, reached out, and from the time he was maybe, I think, 12 or so, we actually began to really build a relationship. During this time, during this time, I would have to say the greatest accomplishment I have after completing my sentence was showing my children how to be productive members of society, and explaining to them the consequences of not being a productive member of society and doing the right thing. The reason why I'm here today seeking this pardon is because my oldest son, he's right now working in the school with disabled children. He's also looking to pursue some other things in music. However, my daughter, who's 21, is a junior at the UW on a full ride there, and she's looking to get into the criminal justice somehow, some way. Not quite sure what that is. You know how it changes every year with children. And my son, who's now 18 and getting ready to graduate out of high school, it was considering being a police officer. With that being said, I would like to follow them in their paths to criminal justice, in the criminal justice field. And the reason I like to do this is because I feel like there's a lot of things that prior to me being sentenced, that if somebody simply would have just stepped out, grabbed me, and said something to me, could have prevented a whole lot of heartache. So I would like to position myself in a situation, maybe in a correctional situation with juveniles or other people who are at risk for being in the exact same situation that I was.
Thank you, Stephen. Do members of the board have questions for Mr. Allen? Nadia?
Hi, Mr. Allen. Could you tell us a little bit about how your relationship is with your son?
It is absolutely awesome. It started off rocky. Because his grandfather was considered his father to him, which God rest his soul. I appreciate everything that that gentleman done up until the point where I became involved. So it started off a little bit rocky, and trying to earn his trust and those kind of things was a little difficult because he did have one side of a story. However, we were able to overcome those obstacles, and I've been there for him for any and everything that it is that he needs. Everything from his first car that was not the greatest car ever, but I was still there for to help him get it, all the way up until now where he asked for my advice. He was just over last weekend, and and I had all my kids here, and it made me feel really good because his and I relationship has truly evolved, and he does not hold it against me for not. I should say I don't feel he holds it against me for not being there in the earlier parts of his life.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jeff?
So, good morning, sir. And I don't want to get into your criticisms of Mr. Humphrey. That's really, in my view, not terribly relevant today. But I do have a question about something that Mr. Humphrey said. He claimed that as late as 2013, you were still $10,000 in arrears. Is that correct? And if so, when did you pay off all the arrears?
So the arrears, I think Ms. Humphrey is about a year late. I think it was 2012, but all of those arrears were forgiven by my child's mother because I had been providing and doing the right things and being there for her when her car breaks, whatever the case may be. I was Johnny on the spot, taking care of those things. For whatever reason, she did choose to eliminate those arrears. And I believe it was around 2012 where she eliminated those arrears.
So that was a situation where she forgave that debt rather than you paid it off.
Absolutely.
And I understand you're saying that it isn't so much that she forgave it, it was an acknowledgement that you'd given other money, not in the form of child support. But okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Mr. Allen, what was it that made you start taking this responsibility seriously? What was it in your life that changed?
The fact that it was these 3 felonies and realizing that I had other people literally supporting me and taking care of me. My wife who's been with me through this whole thing has literally from beginning to end helped me in regards to child support, making sure I didn't fall on my face and all of these things. It just all of a sudden became a real wake-up call that I wasn't a man, and getting on the path to trying to become that man was my wake-up call, I guess, so to speak. I needed to support my family, and again with the people in my community in Superior, just kind of getting behind me and let me and just embrace me and giving me the I guess the confidence to rise above where I was. So just because I worked at Kmart and made $86 a week or whatever the case is, I was still embraced and took in and shown, how to hunt, how to fish, how to work on this, how to do this, and all of these things. And it kind of just catapulted from there, so to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
And Mr. Allen, it seems to me there's a big difference if I'm a single mom raising a child, from having you pay to fix my car on occasion versus being able to rely on that monthly payment that I can count on for food and activities and clothing and all the things. Can you speak to that? How do you recognize the difference of you not consistently paying that child support, whether you did things ad hoc how that made the mother of your child's life more difficult?
I did, and especially now by watching my wife and watching what she does every day. God knows, honest to goodness, I would do anything to be able to go back and be the man that I am today. Then it is hard to raise children, especially young men, in this society. I've expressed it to her. I've done everything it is I can to express to her how sorry I am, how regretful I am that I wasn't there during that time to be able to pay child support and to do those things, and not make it any type of excuses. But I was just I was a 17-year-old boy and had no clue, no idea when she got pregnant, what to even do, let alone anything about a child. Not using that as an excuse, but just I had no idea. But with that said, I do understand her struggle, and I truly hope that she has forgiven me for it. But I've done everything I can to get her to forgive me for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Really appreciate you taking your time to share your story with us, and you will hear from us in the next few weeks, but hope you have a good weekend.
Actually, can I just end with this one thing? I do
Yeah,
want
of
to say
course.
this. Maya Angelou, there was a quote that I've been living by. To go back to the other question I was asked, there's a quote that I've been living by. Do better until you know better, and when you know better, do better. That's what I followed, and that's what I've done. Thank you all for your time. I really appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Patrick Lindsley. Pat,
Good morning.
good morning. Well, you saw how this
Good morning.
works, so please proceed with sharing your story with us.
Thank you. My name, as you can see, is Patrick Gerard Lindsley. I am here today because I was involved in a drunk driving accident on the early mornings of August 1st of 1998. And as a result of that accident, I took the life of an 18-year-old boy named Michael Bartoli. And it's personal because I went to school with his sister, actually graduated with his sister, Julie. So it wasn't like we didn't know each other's family. So it's still hard today. And as a result of that, in 1998, I was found guilty by the charge of homicide by intoxication of a motor vehicle. I was thereby sentenced to an 8-year sentence to be served in prison. I did 5 years incarcerated in Wisconsin prison system. In those 5 years, I had no conduct reports whatsoever. I was released in 2005, and I was on probation for the next 3 years in Oneida County. My victim's family, the Bartolis, asked if I would not return home to Campbellsport, Wisconsin. So I did just that, and I moved back up to Oneida County, where I served out my next 3 years in probation, in which I also had no incidents whatsoever while on probation. While I was incarcerated at McNaughton Correctional System in Lake Tomahawk, Wisconsin, I was employed at Lee Construction for a little over 3 years, work release. Since I was released after 2005, like I said, I returned back to Oneida County, and I went back to work for Lee Construction up until 2008, at which time, 2008 to 2012, I opened up my own business, a cabinetry business. That ended. I went back to work for Lee Construction from 2012 up until 2020, last year. I am currently employed at Daigle Brothers Fabricating in Tomahawk, Wisconsin. My sobriety date is September 18th of 1999. I have been a member, a home group member, a leader in Alcoholics Anonymous since that date and till current. Once I was released from prison, I had to wait 6 months to get back into to do jail meetings. That was their criteria in Oneida County. So after my 6-month period, I was a volunteer at Oneida County Jail doing AA meetings from 2005 till 2007. At which time I quit those meetings because in order to get into a prison system meeting, you have to wait 2 years since incarceration. So from 2007 until current, till today, I am an outside volunteer once a week at McNaughton Correctional System, where I did most of my time. I am a member of the Vineyard Church here in Tomahawk. I am on the board. I am a true follower of what a church can do and what God can do in a church and its people. And the reason I'm sitting in front of you today, that we could finally get to this pardon process because of our wonderful new governor. I've waited a long time. My goal since I've gotten out is to actually become a correctional officer. And I actually, if this pardon goes through, I actually have a job which was stated in one of my reference letters by our sheriff in Oneida County, Grady Hartman. I can jump right into the jail system and get going with, which I think that's been God's plan throughout this whole thing, so that I can share my story with other people that, you know, this is possible to create an error in your past and to move on and become a better citizen. I can't think of a better way to show other people. So that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Do members of the board have questions for him? Jerry?
I have a couple questions. You took your case to trial, is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And what was the issue at trial?
What was the issue? I
Right.
don't understand the question, sir.
Well, I mean, what kind of defense did your attorney raise at the trial?
Oh, well, the defense is that I claimed that I seen a blinker going right rather than left, and I passed in a no passing zone, which struck my victim's vehicle on its side. Is that?
Right. And do you acknowledge that your drinking played any part in the accident?
Oh, every part of it. Yes. Yeah. Yep. I got no issues with admitting that this entire accident was my fault and my responsibility. I chose to drink that day. I chose to get behind the wheel, and I chose to go through everything I went through.
And you had a number of very positive letters in your support. And one was, a number were from the Dale family in Missouri, and they were very
Yes.
grateful for the help you were with their son, Jacob. And Kevin Dale talks about you're coming to their farm in Missouri to hunt. Is that true?
Yes.
And did you take your gun with you when you went to hunt?
No, I have never gun hunted. All my guns were given away as soon as I entered the prison system. I have never owned a gun since, and I am a true bow hunter. I would never buy another gun in my life.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Well, thanks, Pat. Thanks for sharing your story with us today. As I told the previous applicants, you'll hear from the governor's office the next few weeks in terms of this board's determination, but hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you all very much. God bless.
Ryan, you're muted.
I think we'll just waiting for tomorrow's audio to connect. So I think what we'll do is we'll go to the
Hi.
next applicant.
Oh, please don't. Hi.
Oh, you're over there. It looks like two accounts are up.
I don't know how. Oh, yeah. Let me turn this one off. I don't know how. I was just didn't know if my iPad was going to work. Let's see. Let me turn that off. Uh-oh.
Oh, you're good.
Okay. How do I get this big?
It's, I think right now we can see you. So
Okay.
there you go.
Good, good.
I don't know how it works, but I'm here.
I'm glad.
Sorry.
So Tamara, you've seen how the previous applicants have gone. So the floor is yours in terms of sharing your story with us.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tamar Dietrich. In 1998, I was charged with party to a crime for forgery. At that time, I was about 21 and I was young and immature. I gave a young lady a ride when she was writing checks. At that time, I didn't fully understand, but now, after a couple of years, I take full responsibility for my actions in that situation. I did get sentenced to 45 days in the House of Correction. I did that at like work release and child care release because I had a son that was 3. Since then, I did complete probation. I paid all the restitution. And what I have done since then, I have started a transportation business that I had for about 6 years. I went to school for medical assistance, but I was never able to work in that field because of my background. I went to school for human and social services because throughout the years, I learned a lot about the human brain and how it works and about the mental illness. My goal is to open up a girls' home. Since I've been young, since I was 12 years old, my mother has always been out. I call it in the world. She always been on drugs. And so I always was not the sole responsibility, but the oldest to take care of my sisters and brothers. So that's what kind of led me to a lot of that situation. The reason I'm here today asking for a pardon is because I have grown tremendously. I have raised 2 young men, got 4 grandkids, which I was not counting on that. But I teach young ladies and men about credit repair and how important your name is. Right now, I work as a field supervisor at a bus company in the behavior specialist department, and I work at a homeless shelter where I give out resources on housing, credit, just life. And my goal is to open up a girls' home called Centered, so everybody can see what they're centered in life. And that's why I'm here today, asking for this pardon. It's been about 21 years, and I'm ready. And thank you. I'm nervous. So I didn't know how Zoom worked.
Yeah.
So I apologize. I got everybody up here, but thank you for hearing me out this morning.
Oh, thanks, Tamara. It worked out just fine. So do members of the board have questions for Ms. Diedrich? Judge?
Hey, good
I'm
morning,
sorry.
Diedrich. So I just want to make sure I understand something. You've worked at Lakeside Bus Company for almost 20 years now,
Yes.
and they don't, they don't give you benefits there?
No. No. Well, let me take that back. Now that I became a field supervisor, I do get the benefits, but I only been a field supervisor for maybe 3 years now. You
Okay.
have to be a full-time 40-hour employee to get the benefits.
So you raised these two young men, as you call them, without the benefit of benefits from your employer.
Yep.
Wow.
And they all get their teeth.
Good for you. I don't have any other questions. Thanks.
Jerry?
Thank you.
Your job as the field supervisor is to help bus drivers learn how to control kids on a school bus?
Yep. And then I go inside the school and have mediations with the parents and the students to see what the issue is. Maybe they have an issue at home or something while they misbehaving on the bus. And we try to find programs, solutions. My solution for kids to act right, I don't want to say act right, to get a safe ride from school to home or home to school is to give them a book, sit by the window, read a book. You know, sometimes that take away from the situation that they might have to go home to.
Wow, that's great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy?
Hi. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It looks like you were sentenced to 3 years probation, but it might have taken you a little longer before you discharged. Is that right?
Yes, that because I was paying the whole restitution for me and the other defendant because she was locked up, so she didn't pay it. So I had to pay all of it before I finished the probation.
Right, and that took a little longer. What was the experience of probation like for you?
I just did everything what was asked of me. I don't know if it was degrading my dignity because I just followed the rules. I made a mistake then. I'm kind of a rule follower. I made that mistake then, but I just went in, paid whatever I could pay because I was working at KinderCare, which was I was getting paid $7.40. So I still had to pay rent, and I just paid what I could at that time until I got something better. I just went in and followed the rules. I don't do drugs. I don't drink. So I had no problem going in and dropping and doing what I'm supposed to do, what it say what you're supposed to do on probation.
Well, you make it sound easy, right? Just follow the rules.
Yeah.
I just, good for you. I mean, $7,000 in restitution is a lot of money at a $7 an hour job when you're raising two boys and trying to pay for everything else. So good for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other further questions for Ms. Diedrich? Well, Tamara, thanks for sharing your story with us today. As you heard me say a couple of times now, we'll be in touch with you in the next few weeks in terms of this board's determination.
Thank you. Y'all stay warm.
Yeah, right.
And be safe. Have a great day.
Thanks.
So just close out now, right?
Yep, you
Okay.
can close out. You don't need to stay on.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right, next we have Stephanie Vispalek. My apologies if I mispronounced that, Stephanie. So Stephanie, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself, and it's your turn now.
All right. Thank you very much for this consideration. I apologize because this is not easy for me. This was about 32 years ago. I was in a car accident, which we were drinking beforehand. I was 17. Our normal routine was after school, I'd go out on my horse where I boarded. It also was a public riding place where people would come pay to do trail rides. I worked there, pay for my board. I'd been going there probably since I was like 13 just to be able to ride the horses. A lot of kids in the area also came out because of the love for horses. You got to take care of them and then you got to ride. So one day we, after school, just went out as normal to go ride my horse. I was out there and one of the guys was working and there were some customers. They had brought some wine out. I had helped them get ready for their trail ride. They offered me wine. I did drink it. We proceeded to, take care of the horses, go riding. I went to get my horse. My friend left to go pick up my best friend who was off of school to come back out to join us for riding. There's probably about a total of 5 adults out there, including me and my best friend. We took care of horses, let them go out on their ride. They came back. The one guy left, bought more wine back to the barn, and we proceeded to have more wine to drink. In the meantime, we decided we're going to all go out for a ride. So we saddled up our horses, went out on the trails. It was getting dark, so me and my best friend decided we were going to head back to finish up caring for the horses, getting them ready to be turned out and everything. We did get back to the barn before everybody else, took care of the horses, put our horses away, and by that time, the other people showed up. We did tell them we were leaving because it was dark and the rest of the chores were there to take care of. I did know 3 of the people that boarded out there and the guy that took care of the day for working. The other 2 people I did not know. They were customers and they were the ones that brought the wine out. Everyone but me and my best friend were of age. I was 17, she was 16. We proceeded to leave, and on my way through the road, and again, this is 33 years ago, so I'm a little foggy with all the details, but this does stick in my mind. I was coming around the bend, and there was a car in my lane. I swerved to miss the car, and I struck a tree. My friend was killed in the accident, and I took it very hard. At 17, it was just something that you never would expect. The hospital was kind of foggy about what happened there and everything. I know my parents were there. I did end up going back to school probably after about 2 or 3 weeks, which was very hard. People treated me different. My friends looked at me different. It was hard to talk to people. They saw you in a different way. They didn't understand. Kind of closed up and really didn't talk to too many people. I did seek counseling just to get over my grief. There's not a single day that doesn't go by that I wish my life were taken instead of hers. Or I wish I could go back and change things. I wish someone would have stopped us from leaving. I wish we wouldn't have made the decision to drink. But I can't change that, unfortunately. It wasn't until one day at high school when your friends kind of, I don't want to say shunned you, but, looked at you differently just to find out that they in turn were doing some of the same things, but just didn't take it as seriously as they should have. I did proceed to graduate from high school, and it wasn't until I received a letter from a mutual friend of ours. The letter kind of struck home to me and really put me in a depression. And her words to me in the letter were to leave the family alone. Don't talk to them. Don't speak to them. Because all I do is bring the hurt and bad memories back to them. She wished I was dead, which, like I said, I wish my life were taken instead of hers. And she just basically told me, don't contact the family anymore. You're doing more hurt than good. And at that time I did. I kind of shut out everybody. And after graduation is the day I went to jail. At 17, I was now 18 at the time. They did try me in adult court because of the time frame of being a juvenile to an adult. They felt that there wasn't enough time to, as they put it, they just couldn't rejuvenate me or whatever a juvenile does. So I went to jail. I lost my license for 5 years. I was on probation for 3 years. After everything I finished, I was still in counseling. I did decide to take a job at a show barn for horses where I worked and lived. I didn't have to drive anywhere, which was nice. There wasn't a lot of people there, so I didn't really have a lot of communication with people. The burden I put on my family, I paid them back for every dime that they spent on me. I just couldn't, it was hard to face them. It took a lot for me to talk to people. So while the 3 years that I was at this horse farm, I did meet a person that got me involved with the church, and that helped me cope with my pain and my guilt, and kind of got me out of, I don't want to say the shell, but kind of a little more out of the shell to be able to forgive myself, even though I still haven't. And kind of got me on a path of, you still are a person, you still can function as normal. After the horse farm closed down, I did get a job at Quad Graphics where I worked for about 9 years. After that, I left and took a job at Bank One, which was bought out by Chase, kind of got into the mortgage business. I did get my real estate license. However, working at Bank One, they saw it as a conflict of interest, and I just had to stop doing that. I left Bank One, went to M&I, where I worked there for 9 years. And then BMO took over, and our jobs were basically moved to a different state. I found a job at one of the biggest title companies in Wisconsin. I've been here for 9 years now. I've been taking every single course I could to better myself. I'm now a regional construction manager, but I can't go any further in my job without a pardon because of the licensings I need to move up the ladder more. This is where the pardon comes in. I accept everything in my life that's been a challenge for me, but this is the one thing I cannot do is I need a notary license and I need my Wisconsin title license, which unfortunately I can't get without a pardon. It's been a long road. And like I said, I take responsibility for everything. I wish I could change it. It's been hard, and I still don't ask for help very often from people. I still do keep to myself. I am a little more reserved than I probably should be. I have volunteered, and my volunteering is with animals. That's the one thing me and my best friend did is we shared the love for animals and horses. I do belong to a few rescue groups for dogs, the Labrador Connection and White Paws German Shepherd. I also did therapeutic riding for disabled kids and adults. I do help out in the community just with food drives, family sharing, helping out with the fish fries through the church, collecting clothes and shoes. I don't do anything out there to be like, look what I've done. I do it more anonymously just because I don't need that recognition. I just do it for the help. I do own my own home. I do have a horse still and 2 dogs that are foster fails.
Thanks, Stephanie. I think we'll turn it over to the board if members of the board have questions, but that was helpful.
Thank you.
Judge Kremers?
Good morning. Can you tell me what your position today is on drinking and driving?
I don't do it. I mean, I am usually the designated driver. I have taken keys away from people. I've ended relationships due to excessive drinking.
But otherwise, if you're not the designated driver, then you would drink and somebody else would drive. Is that?
Correct. Or I just don't drink. I mean, I am not a drinker by any means, but I do occasionally have a beer at home. But as far as drinking and driving, no, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go with Jerry and then Cindy.
Cindy first.
Thank you, Jerry. Good morning. You described the victim, Kimberly Benty, as your best friend. Can you tell us how you became best friends? Was it through school or neighbors or?
We met out at the horse farm. That's where the mutual connection came through. And we just, like I said, through the love of animals and horses, this is where we met. There were a lot of kids in the area that came there that, we didn't know through school. We just knew from the horse farm.
Okay. And how long had you been best friends?
I think it was like 2 or 3 years before the accident.
And were you close with her family as well? I'm just wondering, go ahead.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time over at her place, and we'd hang out and do things together. But most of our time was spent out at the horse farm, but because we didn't go to the same school.
And then after her death, did you have any contact with the family?
I did. I did talk to them, and I did receive, wrote some letters and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I did receive some letters back. So, I mean, my remorse, and I mean, they were like a family to me when I was over there. So that really, to me, after the mutual friends letter, kind of told me that I was more of a reminder of pain and hurt to them than anything else. And I didn't want to do that to them.
So when you say you got some letters back, like unopened, returned to you, is that,
Yes.
I don't want to, okay. And then just one last question. When you were on probation, you also received a sentence of 200 hours of community service. Where did you do that?
I did that at the Washington County Humane Society.
Thank you.
Jerry?
No, I'm good. Cindy took care of my questions.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie, for speaking with us today. And as you heard me say a couple times already, we'll be in touch with you in terms of this board's determination in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Stephanie. All right. Next up, we will be going to Joshua Schneider. Josh, if you wouldn't mind turning on your video and unmuting yourself.
Hello.
Hello, Josh.
Hi, how are you?
How this works. So if you could just briefly go through your story in terms of events leading up and the felony itself, and then what's happened since then quickly.
So in 1996, a friend of mine and I went to a job site and took some sheets of plywood. In that case, I did help him load the plywood. In the other cases, I didn't leave the vehicle. He went into the homes and took tools. And then I was sentenced to 45 days Huber and 5 years probation. Never had any problems. My 5 years in probation, never had any issues. Always had the same job the whole time. Since then, I started our own business. My brother and I, Schneider Brothers Plastering and Stucco. We've done that for 13 years. I have a son, Tyler, and a daughter, Savannah, and my wife, Rachel, of 10 years. I would like to get this pardoned because I can't go on chaperone for my daughter's school, and it's hard for me to make up excuses and lie to her. It breaks my heart not to be able to, go with her on field trips and such. And we recently bought a cabin in Jackson County where we do a lot of hunting and fishing with my friends and family. And I would also like to be able to maybe go gun hunting and duck hunting and stuff. I mean, I'm an avid bow hunter, but also like the chance to do the things I used to do when I was a kid. I mean, I'm 42 now. That was 24 years ago. I haven't had a single speeding ticket, no DNR citations, nothing to speak of. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Do members of the board, Judge Cremers?
Yeah, good morning, sir. So what was the plan when you stole all this? I mean, you're stealing plywood and things that aren't intrinsically something that you can use to.
I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know what we were doing in the situation. This friend of mine at the time just pulled in the driveway and said we were going to take this plywood. I don't know if he was selling it to somebody or what he was doing. I never had any part in the selling of it or anything, so I'm not sure what his plan was.
The restitution that you paid,
Yes.
did you pay just half of it for?
Half, yes, sir.
And
Half.
I'm struck by the irony of this crime in that you stole construction materials and now that's your livelihood.
Right, sir. Actually, I was plastering at that time. So it was, a very dumb mistake. I mean, I know it was my fault. I took part in it. And we're actually worked for some of the people who this was, what would you say? The people that we stole stuff from. I've done jobs for them since then. So I just don't know why like you said, I was 18 years old and it was just a dumb mistake.
Any other questions for Mr. Schneider? Well, thanks, Josh. I appreciate you sharing your story with us today. And as I've told everybody else, you'll hear from us in the next few weeks in terms of the board's determination, but hope you have a good weekend and stay warm.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks. All right, next up we have on the agenda is Alfonso Dennis. So Alfonso, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and turning on your camera.
Hi, good morning,
All right.
everyone.
Oh, the floor is yours, Alfonso.
Okay, my name is Alfonso Dennis, and the crime I was charged and convicted of is misconduct in public office. That means that a person that holds public office did something that they should have known better. In my case, I was a police officer for the city of Milwaukee. And while on patrol one night, I observed a female standing on a corner in an area of a prostitution. I pulled over, I stopped the individual, and I confirmed that she was on the street prostituting, trying to make money. So I ended up arresting her and charging her with state charge prostitution. And what happened with that, during the time I took her into custody and conveyed her to the jail downtown Milwaukee. I got her phone number. So the prosecutor dropped the state prostitution charge and referred it back to me to issue a city citation. So in the meantime, I called this woman and met with her and engaged in a sexual relationship with her. Then there was question about this ticket. So what the police department did after her sister complained, saying that this officer that arrested my sister engaged in a sexual act with her, they tapped the phone, and I made some kind of jokingly remark about going to Chicago and being a pimp. You've been a pimp for me, something that I don't have a clue how to do. But anyway, it was also talk about was the ticket going to be issued or not. So I was arrested and I was charged with felony misconduct in public office. Why did I do what I did? I do know I was having a lot of home problems with my wife, and I think I was looking for something that I wasn't getting at home. And my judgment was just totally off because I, educated myself for this job, and it was something that I always wanted to do. I obtained my associate degree in law enforcement. And even after the conviction, I had one more class to get my bachelor degree in criminal justice, which I did. I finished and got my bachelor degree in criminal justice. And I had to go to counseling and get my marriage and life back in order. And right now, my wife and I, we are together as a single family, a single unit. As far as my sentence, I was given 6 months in a house of correction with work release. And at the time, I had to fall back on some training at the high school and work as an auto mechanic. I was also given 3 years of probation. During that term of the probation, I went to truck driving school, and I was given permission to drive a truck out of state back and forth on a weekly basis. The probation was 3 years, but they ended up ending it early. I was fined $480, which they took out of the bail money I had to post in the probation. I don't do drugs or drink alcohol. So that turned out well, where they ended the probation like a year early. I absolutely hated driving truck for a living. I did it for about 6 years and realized, hey, that's a loner job. I did not like it. So I sold my single family home and became a landlord of a 4-unit property. And that allowed me to go back to school, which I majored in nursing. So I went to MATC and worked as an LPN on a long-term unit for approximately 5 years. After that, I returned to school and got my associate degree, became a registered nurse, and worked mental health. I went back to school, got my bachelor degree, and ended up going back for my master's degree. Right now, I work with the VA, been there for 15 years. I have 18 years total of service because they credit my military time as a veteran. I work as a case manager now, and I work with homeless veterans. And I have 40 homeless veterans on my caseload that I see on a regular basis. I also do outreach programs. I work with Mr. Bob Under the Bridge Outreach. I belong to a group called Rolling Thunder that work with veterans, providing them support. I do teaching. I had to teach at the CRRC, Center for Veteran Resources, COVID screening. Also, tomorrow I'm scheduled to do like COVID vaccinations. The reason I want to pardon is just, I don't do anything with guns, but I just want it for my own sake, because I talk to people, especially men of color, trying to influence them that they can do better and that somebody will give you a chance. I had a veteran say to me last week, well, who's going to give me a job? And I got a felony conviction. And I had to share with him, hey, I have a felony conviction and someone gave me a chance. So for that reason, it just would do me good personally to have this here pardon. I have 2 daughters and now have grandkids. One of my daughters is a nurse at ER for St. Luke Hospital, and another is a nurse for the Milwaukee Public School System. And got grandson that I just want to be a leader to. So this pardon just would tell me, hey, a criminal or convict is not who you are, that you are working in society and trying to help people for the better good.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Do members of the board have questions for him? Judge Kremers?
Good morning, sir. It looks like from the records that you took this matter to trial, they had a jury trial, and then after the conviction by the jury, you appealed it. Can you tell me what your challenge was to the prosecution here? What did you disagree with about the manner in which your case was handled?
I we were trying to, well, originally I was saying it was because a consensual relationship, and that it happened outside of this actual sexual act happened outside of my police capacity.
I see. But there were several other women that testified at the trial, correct? About similar circumstances?
And yes, and there was, and I'll tell you this, and 100% honesty, I had never did anything appropriate with the several other women that testified against the trial. I mean, it came out because I worked that area. I had contact with them before, I had arrested them before, but as far as being inappropriate with them, they came out of the woodwork, but I never, ever did anything.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy?
Just to follow up, so the original charge, you were 35 at the time, I think, is that?
25 years ago, I'm 59 now, so yeah.
We'll do the math. All right, we'll call it 35. And the victim of this offense was 18. Is that?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And it seems from the criminal complaint that in its most basic form, you offered not to write her this $600 ticket in exchange for sexual favors. Is that what happened?
Well, that was the nature of the conversation. But in the conversation, it was like, well, hey, we all know we'll go to Chicago and you all need to get some jobs and all. But yes, they did. They saying that was part of it. I actually hadn't been back to work to even write the ticket at the time. It was like so quick after her charge was dropped by the state that I made the contact with her. And actually, she was the one that told me about writing the ticket. I had not received it from any superiors or anything. She said, oh, they said they dropped the charge and they said, you're going to have to write me a ticket. And when she said that to me, she said, well, you're going to write me the ticket. I say, I don't know. Are you going to be good to me? So that's about far as that went.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Jerry?
When you were talking about the other women, you said you did nothing inappropriate with them. Does that mean that you had consensual sex with them, but not in your official capacity?
No, not at all. I never had sex with them, never touched them. All I ever did was arrested or wrote tickets to them.
For prostitution?
Yes.
Yeah. And when you made the initial arrest of the woman who filed a complaint, you had her in the backseat of your squad car, and did you essentially stop and show her off to other officers?
And the criminal complaint said that, but at the time we did not have any female officers available. And that was actually being used as a search method because we didn't touch her, just to have her to turn around and see if she didn't have any weapons on her. But, looking back at that action, sir, I can say that everything that happened with me that night, I was wrong. I mean, everything was. I mean, my judgment was off. I brought home to work with me, and I thought I was going to do something easy. But yes, that was one of the allegations, that the way I had her to turn around, like I was displaying her for other people, the other officers to look at her.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, thank you for sharing your story with us, Mr. Dennis. I told the other applicants we'll be making a decision later today on whether to forward your application to Governor Evers for final consideration, and you'll be notified of our determination here in the next few weeks.
Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
All right, next up we have on our schedule is Tyson Willis. So Tyson, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera on. Good morning, Tyson. So as you've seen us do a couple times before, now is your turn to share your story with us. So please proceed.
Okay, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, just fine.
Oh, okay. Well, this crime, it was back in 1994. Before that, I just want to state I am from Chicago, single mother. She raised 2 kids. So I thought the streets basically was the life. You know, we had to take care of her, take care of ourselves. So I heard about Racine, Wisconsin, as far as getting easy money. You know, I have family up here, so I came up here. Thought the streets was gonna make me rich, and the very year that I came up here, I got raided and went to jail. While completing my jail time, oh, how could I say this? I got out with a whole new look of life. You know, I was 19 at the time. I'm 47 right now. In between that time and now, I went back to school, got my certifications. Have a 30-year-old daughter right now. I fought for custody for my son, which is 20 as of right now. He lives in Dallas, Texas, now working for the city of Dallas. As far as my jobs have been going on and off, because of the conviction. A lot of people do not like to hire felons. I haven't passed up on a lot of good jobs, like city jobs, because of my felony. Right now, I'm an inventory specialist at a place called A&E in Racine. So the reason for my on this pardon today is so I can move on and get my lifelong job, so I won't have to keep jumping job to job. I be at jobs 2 or 3 years, then all of a sudden something happens. Ask me, I don't know why, but the last job I was just at, I was at 5 years and got let go because of COVID. So I just started this recent job now. I've been there 3 months now. It's looking good so far, but it's not my dream job, And since that time, I haven't had any police contact. All my restitution got paid. So I'm just a law-abiding citizen right now. 26 years now, no police contact, never been back to jail. I don't really know what else to say, because besides me being a law-abiding citizen and taking care of my kids and my grandkids.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Cindy?
My colleague will love your Chicago Cubs blanket behind you. Mr. Hancock is a big Chicago Cubs fan, but aside from that, in your application, you indicate that you applied for a pardon and were denied. Was that a letter saying they're not doing pardons, or did you actually have a previous hearing?
Oh, no. I applied for the pardon when Governor Scott Walker was in.
Okay.
So they sent me a letter saying that they was going to indefinite suspend my request. So, I tried again because I feel that I really deserve it, I'm law abiding. I feel I deserved it after 26 years.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Go with Jerry and then, we'll go with Jeff, then Jerry.
Good morning, sir. I'm not the one who likes the Cubs blanket. That'll be the other guy. But kidding aside, so it looked like you were sentenced in 1994, and that you got 10 months in the county jail and 7 years probation. But it also looks from the records like you were revoked, like your probation was revoked. Is that true? And it looks like you just said yes. And can you tell me why you were revoked and then how long you actually served in prison?
Okay, the reason I got revoked, they had me on Huber law, get out for work every day. And I was married at the time, young, of course. So I thought my wife was out cheating on me. So I stayed out a little bit longer than I should. So they revoked everything. Then I went to prison for a year and a half.
Okay.
So that was the reason. They had called it absconding. It was a absconding charge.
All right. So it says that since 2004 you've been employed, but what was going on between, say, I don't know, say 1997 to 2004? If you were done with prison and jail by then, what were you doing in that 7-year period of time?
I probably don't have the jobs on there, but I was working also then. See, I just did, on my resume, I only went back so far. So I didn't put all that on there. I always had a job since I've been out.
Jerry?
First of all, I admire your courage with the Cubs. But you got a year and a half in prison for being late coming back to Huber.
It was a scoundrel charge. I never did go back to. I stayed gone, so they had to actually find me when I got out.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions from the board? All right, well, thanks, Mr. Willis. As you've heard me say a couple of times, you'll hear from us in the near future, but have a good weekend and stay warm.
Yeah, you guys too. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, and next we will go to, I think we have Lee Burroker.
Yes, sir.
Lee, you've seen how we've done this, so why don't you please proceed?
Well, good morning to everyone. I filled out this pardon application, finding out here recently that Governor Evers was doing this again because Mr. Walker obviously wasn't. And so I did, from some support from my family, everybody said that I should give it a try. And so I am. My conviction was from an escalation of a Class C misdemeanor of non-payer and child support, which escalated into my felony charge. It was a long time ago and I was very irresponsible with my money. And being a seasonal construction worker, there were downtimes and I guess I didn't know how to work the system and I didn't have money to pay for a lawyer. So I kind of ended up where I ended up. Since that point, my son is, grown. He doesn't even live in Wisconsin anymore. He lives in Minnesota. And I have 2 grandkids. And that's one of the reasons behind this. And my father is getting up in age. And so I decided to give this a try and see where it goes. The restitution has all been paid. I guess from my packet, you should have pretty much everything that I put in. I work for a construction company now. I drive quad axle dump truck and work in the Madison area, seasonal employee. I'm off right now because obviously we can't do anything in this weather, but roadways and construction is what I do. I guess that looking back at that time period in my life, alcohol was a big major part of a player in that. And recreational marijuana use was also a problem. And subsequently since that time, I don't even drink anymore. So I thought I would give it a try. The reason for the try is because I've had to turn down some job offers in the past for a lot more monetary value in my work situation, but I can't go into sensitive points like hauling fuel or anything of that nature on the highways because of my felony conviction. So I guess I'm giving it a try to see if this is something that would be possible to happen, if you guys deem it possible. And I guess I can open up the floor to questions.
Members of the board have questions? Cindy?
Your application lists a disorderly conduct in Dane County. In 1993, you were put on probation. Can you tell us what that was about?
1993, that's about a long time ago. I do not remember what that was for, to be honest with you.
You don't remember the circumstances of being convicted of a crime and put on probation for 21 months?
I don't think I think it was something that had to do with this child support, if I'm correct.
The disorderly conduct?
I think disorderly conduct. I think it was piggybacked off of this situation that I was in. I don't have any recollection of it. It was a long time ago in 1993.
You listed it on your application. That's why I'm just surprised you don't.
Oh, I think it was an argument. I think it was an argument about payment and 93. I think that was with Dawn, my ex-wife. I think we had a altercation argument and I don't think there was anything other than, I think I might have been on a no contact with her at that point from the beginning of this process. I would have to dig into it and look. I don't know. I can't remember for sure, but I think we were on a no contact. I came there and saw her And I think there was an argument that ensued and the cops were called. I believe that that's the situation that happened.
Okay.
And then they
And you
added on
remember-
to that.
And you remember being placed on probation for it?
Well, it was all probation. I was on probation for child support at that point too, as well.
Okay.
From the class A charge.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Lee, for meeting with us.
And would like to tell you folks, thank you very much for what you do. It's nice to see that some people do have an opportunity to change their lives. It's been really heart-wrenching to listen to everybody's stories this morning. So thanks for what you do.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
And we'll be in touch.
All right, thank you.
And it looks like that is the final person on our agenda. Actually, Richard will not be meeting with us today. So that one is getting postponed. And so what we'll do is I'm going to admit everybody for the next session. And then if the board's okay, if we could just maybe take a 5-minute break in case anybody needs to make a phone call or get some more coffee. So I will be admitting everybody and I'll run through my spiel and then we'll do a 5-minute. All right, looks like we have just one more person joining us. Just wait for our audio to connect. Looks like we're still waiting for one person's audio connect. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ryan Elsister, and I'm the Governor's Chief Legal Counsel and also Chair of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. We're actually running on schedule today, which is a pleasant change. And so what we're going to be doing is we're actually going to take just a quick break so board members have an opportunity to catch up on phone calls and grab a cup of coffee. But we'll be back right at 10:05. And at that time, I will introduce members of the board and go through the process for how this morning and after today will operate. But thank you for being here on time, and we will be back with you in 5 minutes. And just one little housekeeping item before that, if you could just mute your line and also turn off your video. We are streaming on YouTube and on Wisconsin Eye, which is Wisconsin's version of C-SPAN. So if you wouldn't mind just cutting your video until it's your time to speak, that would be great. Thank you. And we'll be back at 10:05. All right, we'll just wait one more. Oh, looks like we have Jerry is back, and then we'll just give a minute for Cindy O'Donnell. I think while we're waiting with Cindy, I'll go through my normal spiel in terms of process. So thanks everybody for meeting with us this morning. So this is the February meeting of the Governor's Pardon Advisory Board. We have a couple of members with us, so I'll do a quick introduction. With us today, we have Judge Jeff Kremers. He is a retired judge from Milwaukee County and the former chief judge for the 1st Judicial District here in Wisconsin. We have Nadia Perez-Reyes, who is the Assistant Deputy Secretary at the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families and is a former public defender. We have Cindy O'Donnell with the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, and she's also held a number of positions with the Wisconsin Department of Justice. And we have Reverend Jerry Hancock, who is the director of the Prison Ministry Project and formerly was a state and county prosecutor and had some other roles with Wisconsin DOJ. So in terms of process here today, each of you will have about 10 or 15 minutes with us. During that time, we expect to hear from you in your own words, explaining how you ended up with a felony conviction. We want details in terms of how it happened. And then we also want to know what happened after your felony conviction and why you believe you have earned the opportunity to be pardoned by Governor Evers. After you've had a chance to share your story for that first 5 or 10 minutes, then we'll open it up for the board to ask you questions. We've had an opportunity to read through your pardon application, and we have usually we'll have a couple of follow-up questions for you. After we get done today hearing from everybody, the board will be meeting in closed session, and during that time, the board will be making a decision on whether or not to recommend your pardon application to Governor Evers. If you receive a majority support from the board members present, your application will be forwarded to Governor Evers, and Governor Evers will make a final decision on whether or not to grant you a pardon. If Governor Evers denies your pardon application or you do not receive majority support from the board, you will receive a denial letter from the governor's office, and you'll have an opportunity to reapply for a pardon in 18 months from the date of the denial letter. And in terms of and then you'll hear the decision from us on whether or not there's a denial or you're granted a pardon in the next few weeks. And again, just a reminder, we are streaming this live online, so just be cognizant of that today. And we'll be going in order of applicants that were listed on the public meetings notice. So it looks like the first person we'll have up is Stephen Lemke, then Russell Longs, Samuel Cantrell, Brenton Bach, Gordon Schultzes, so on and so forth. And so I'll just be calling you one by one. When it's your turn, please turn your video on and unmute yourself, and you'll have an opportunity to speak. So with that, we will go to our first applicant of the second session this morning, to Stephen Lemke. So Stephen, looks like you're already unmuted. So if you wouldn't mind sharing your story with us, and we can hear you.
First, I'd like to say good morning to all the board members, and I thank you for the opportunity and to look at my case. I have a short, one page here. I'd like to explain myself. Pertaining to my offense on August 15th, 1999, I took part in a burglary of a cabin in Marinette County. I was a neighbor of one of the guys I hung out with at that time, and alcohol was involved. We broke in and stole an ATV. One of the guys with us had a truck and trailer, so he transported the stolen property to Green Bay, which later I had sold. On September 16th of 2002, I was sentenced for this crime and served 90 days in Marinette County Jail with work release. I completed my probation, paid full restitution, which included joint and several, which was imposed at the time of sentencing. Since serving my time, I had several different jobs until I met an over-the-road truck driver, which I am now friends with since 2006. I spotted trailers at Green Bay Packaging and met him in the process. We later became really good friends, and talked a lot about my situation, and he then got me a job with Equine Transport, which I worked there for about a year and a half. And then we both moved to Nelson Freight Service in Peshtigo, Wisconsin, which we are still there for a little over 7 years. And someday I would like to go to a few, sorry, let me back up 1 second. I apologize for that. I do attend town meetings when I'm home, but usually I'm gone because it's Monday to Friday that I work. My job doesn't allow me to be as involved in the community as I would like, you know, to precipitate in the fundraisers. And me and my father, we cook booyah for these events. And I'm restoring an old pickup truck, so it keeps me pretty busy. And then I help my parents splitting wood for the winter and all the heavier tasks because, you know, they're getting up there in age and they need a little more help. I help friends of ours, kind of look at them as grandparents because I really never had any. You know, I put my parents through a whirlwind, and I'm truly sorry for that. And now I'm even closer to them now than I ever have been. I really regret all the stuff I put them through in the past, and myself. You know, I didn't like what I saw back in the day, and I was determined to change. And as far as me serving my time, I think I was rehabilitated, and the situation, it worked for me. Eventually I would like to, I mean, the reason that I'd like to get a pardon is so maybe I can apply at a couple places up north by where I live here, maybe UPS or FedEx, and I know they don't allow felonies on the record, but I think that would make me a better person, not as much stress as being out over the road like I am now. And I was raised as a Christian. I left that life long ago, but now I'm finding coming back to the way I was raised has improved the quality of life for me and those around me. I have regretted those things I did for a very long time. I was a stupid young kid, young adult, and what I did was wrong in so many ways. I'm happy that I've changed my life and appreciate the support from all my family and friends that have made me into the man I am now. And I appreciate everyone here letting me explain a little bit about myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen. Do members of the board have questions for Mr. Lemke? Jerry? Just need to unmute yourself, Jerry.
Did you have any contact with the victims of these burglaries?
No, I did not.
And did you pay all the restitution?
Yes.
Or did
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
The person that I was in the joint and several with wasn't paying, and I was in the process. I was married, and we needed to move from my folks' place to our home, and the only way I could was if all the restitution was paid. So I paid his share as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Cindy?
Just to clarify, follow up on Reverend Hancock's question, was that Josh?
Yes.
So how old was Josh at the time? You were 22. How old was he?
He was just about 18.
He was 18. You know, I was struck by your description of the offense because you spend a little bit of time blaming Josh. At Josh's suggestion, I let Josh sway me into this. How did an 18-year-old talk you into engaging in this?
Well, it's no secret back when I was younger, that age, I was a follower. And that's horrible. I guess it's a horrible description, but I don't know. Maybe that it was, I wanted to feel like I was younger and be part of the crowd. It was a stupid mistake. And I don't know. I guess I don't have any words for that. It was stupid.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Any further questions for Stephen? Oh, thanks, Stephen. I appreciate you sharing your story with us. Like I said at the beginning, you'll hear from us in the next few weeks in terms of this board's determination, but I appreciate your time and we will be in touch.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up on our agenda, we have Russell Long. So Russell, looks like you unmuted yourself. You've seen how this works, so please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Just fine.
Okay, thank you. My name is Russell Long. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity to hear my pardon application. This is something I thought I would never get the opportunity to do, so I want to thank everybody for that. In June of 1991, I was convicted of 4 counts of burglary and 1 count of accessory. I believe it's APTC. I believe it's accessory to burglary. Basically what it comes down to is, at the time I was still in high school, I got involved with a group of guys that, you know, you kind of get a group think, and we started doing things that we shouldn't have been doing. I was never a drug taker of any sort, but we were into alcohol. And for about a 2-month span, we had broken into several different places. We never looked to confront anybody. We had broken into, I guess you would call them vacation homes or cabins. I wish I could give you a reason why we did it. I don't have a reason why we did it. It was something that, you know, you get into a group of guys, and guys on their individual, if they were by themselves, they probably wouldn't do it, but you get them as a group, and we just made some bad decisions. And I don't blame anybody else for what I did. I take full responsibility for what I did. It was very, very embarrassing for my family. I don't come from, if you want to call it a criminal background. I came from a good home. My parents were divorced, but my mother was remarried. My mother was a social worker on a Menominee reservation, and so was my stepfather. So this is really an embarrassing situation for everybody involved. But like I said, I take full responsibility for what I did. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. It's affected my life in a lot of different ways. As far as my sentence, I served a year in county jail. I served 5 months in tribal jail on the Menominee reservation. I then was transferred to Rhinelander, Iron County Jail, or not Iron County Jail. I can't remember the county now, but I was transferred to Rhinelander, and I sat there for 2 months, and then I was transferred to Iron County Jail to serve out the rest of my sentence. While I was in Iron County, I took part in one of the local jailers was involved with the DARE program in Iron County. So I had a talent for artwork. So what I would do is I would draw posters. He'd bring me in these posters. I would draw posters for the kids, just anti-drug messages and stuff like that. So I guess if you want to say I was a model prisoner up there. It was kind of a different jail, small town jail. There was no TV or anything like that. So, you know, you had a lot of time to reflect, you had a lot of time to think about things in your future. So I was involved with their program. And then after a while, once I had proven myself that, you know, I was there to behave and serve my sentence, they started to let me out and several other of the younger guys out. And we went downtown Hurley. We did work for old people. We had done some work. There's a historical society in Hurley, and we used to go down there every day and do work there. And I don't want to call it a good experience, but I think it was good for me. I think it's something that I needed. And I served my time. I was released from probation 2 years early. Once I was released, I served a year of probation. Once my restitution was paid in full, my probation officer released me from my probation. It was 2 years early. His name was Thomas Freeward. After that, I just, worked. I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 25 years. We have 3 kids. We had lived in Green Bay for a while, and then we had moved back up here to our hometown of Gillette. About 15 years ago, roughly, my oldest son got into sports, and that's what's pretty much consumed our life for the last 15 years has been basketball, football. I have been a coach for many years. I started out as a youth football coach. I then went on to youth basketball. I eventually coached junior high girls basketball for 1 season. And then I was a boys varsity basketball coach. Actually, let me rephrase that. I was a JV coach for 3 seasons, and then I finished up as the head basketball coach for 2 seasons. Last year was my last season. But it's been working, raising my kids, and just proving to myself and proving to my family that what happened in the past was not who I am. I'm not the same person that I was 30 years ago. One thing I think that, in my opinion, I think one way you can judge a person is how they raise their kids. And me and my wife have raised our 3 kids in a very strict manner from the standpoint of, we haven't tolerated anything that would be against the law, anything that would be against the norms of society. My oldest son, Clint, is a college graduate. He has a 4-year degree from the University of Oshkosh in criminal justice. He was a patrolman for the city of Brookings, South Dakota. My second son, Cole, who graduated 2 years ago, is currently in the process of becoming a law enforcement officer. And my daughter, Cameron, who graduated last year, is going to UW Milwaukee for finance. All 3 of my kids were honor roll students, heavily involved in sports. My 2 sons were all conference basketball and football players. I've also been a member of the Town of Gillette Fire Department for 14 years. I'm sorry, let me check my notes here.
While you do that, Mr. Long, we might open up for questions. Do members of the board have any questions for Mr. Long? Judge Kremers.
I'm wondering, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. Yes.
Good. I was wondering, sir, if you wanted to comment on what appears to be some Facebook posts you entered or posted last summer about some of the Black Lives Matter protests and riots and things, so-called riots, as you put it.
Well, here's my feeling on that. My feeling is, I look at things from a law enforcement standpoint, from the standpoint of my son was a patrolman at the time. My other son is going into law enforcement. I don't know if you can see me or not, but I may not absolutely look it, but I am an enrolled Menominee. I had grown up on a reservation. I don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement from the standpoint of the destruction I've seen out west, the things I've seen in Kenosha. I also don't agree with things I've seen going on in the Capitol, those types of things. I think as a country, I think we're broken. You know, I don't know if that's where you wanted me to go with the questioning, but
It's not where I want you to go. I just wanted to see if I could understand what.
yeah,
what
yeah.
you mean by that, and you've said it, so thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Long? All right. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. Russell, as you heard me say to the previous applicants, we'll be in touch with you in the next few weeks in terms of this board's determination, and if your application is forwarded to the governor, his determination. But appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Next on our schedule, we have Samuel Cantrell. So let's see. Sam? All right,
Yes,
there you
sir.
are. All right, so we can hear you just fine. So please proceed.
Good morning. I appreciate everybody's time. I'm a little stressed out. To describe my crime, when I was 16 years old, I committed a series of burglaries and thefts and criminal damage to property. Just being a young kid, nothing better to do, running around with a friend of mine. I'm not blaming anybody for my actions because nobody put me in that situation but me. I got nobody to blame. I served my time in Milwaukee County Jail. There was no disciplinary action. I did my time. I stayed out of trouble. They actually made me a trustee in Milwaukee County Jail. I served in Milwaukee County Jail, I do believe, for 7 months as a trustee, where I served food, I did laundry and everything else for the jail itself. After my release, I married my wonderful wife, Rhonda. We've been together 30 plus years now. We got 2 children, 2 grandchildren. I been staying busy. I mean, I milked cows when I first got out, and then I got better jobs. Now I pour concrete. I've been working for Bert Brovels for going on 20 years now. Every year I get back on the horse and start pouring walls for the guy. And I'm just trying to stay busy and, stay out of trouble. Both of our children have graduated school. Our oldest daughter gave us 2 grandchildren, but we always go to school functions or be there whenever we could. I would do concessions for the children whenever it was required. I've done my best to become a productive citizen of society. I've worked very hard to become a better person, and I've come to realize and enjoy the value of things in life, and realize what I did was so wrong. I could never give the people back the safety that I've taken from them. But I never meant to cause anybody no harm. I never came into contact with anybody. I never physically harmed anybody. I was just young and stupid. I have a great life now, wonderful wife, wonderful children. But I need a pardon. So I don't take away from what my wife wants in life. She can't carry a firearm. She can't do nothing. All because of me.
Thanks, Sam.
I don't know where to go, man.
It's fine. Well, that's helpful information to know. What we'll do is we'll turn it over to the board to see if they have any questions for you.
Yes, sir.
Jerry? You're on mute, Jerry.
Old guy stuff. Sam, how old were you when you were arrested?
16.
And were you then waived into adult court?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then how old were you when you served your sentence?
I do believe I got out after I turned 18.
So you were a juvenile all the time you were in jail?
I do believe I turned 18 in jail, sir.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Sam.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions from the board? Oh, thanks a lot, Sam. Appreciate you taking your time with us. And as you've heard me say a couple times already now, we'll be in touch with you in the next few weeks in terms of the determination on your pardon application.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You have a good day.
All right, next up we have Brenton Bach, and I believe Brenton's also here with attorney Lester Pines. And so I will turn it over to you two.
Good morning. I'm Lester Pines. I represent Brenton Bach. I want you to know that Brenton did his absolute best to submit a very complete application, accompanied by a cover letter from me that provided additional information, and it describes a journey from immaturity to maturity, from a lack of perception of morality to a more clear perception of morality. And Brenton is prepared to discuss with you what he has done in his life since his conversion to Judaism and his move to Israel. He has now returned to Wisconsin, and he wants to provide to you information to complete the story beyond what he provided in his application. We very much appreciate your time and your effort as members of the Pardon Board.
Thanks, Lester. Brenton?
Yes, sir. As Lester noted, I made a terrible mistake when I was younger, and I've since taken a sincere and deeply held conversion to Judaism. I've subsequently gone to Israel, become a citizen, joined the army, served as a combat soldier, and within a year was promoted to be the senior close quarter combat instructor at the Officer Academy, where I trained and ensured that 148 officers were fit to lead the Israeli sons and daughters into combat. My service granted me a scholarship to attend a code school in Tel Aviv, where I slept in the basement and worked as a janitor for 5 months. And now I'm qualified and being considered for very competitive jobs, but they are extremely, 30 applicants or more. My goal is to have a family and to give my parents grandchildren and to live as a reconstituted American and as a citizen. And I've written a lot these last 5 years, and I really need your help to write the last part of this chapter of my life.
All right, thank you, Brenton. Judge Kremers?
I have two issues. One I'm going to get to in just a moment, that has to do with your crime itself, but I just think I may have I don't consider it a conflict of interest, but I just want to put it on the record. Is your father Donald Bach, the lawyer?
Donald Leo.
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went to law school with him, as well as went to law school with Mr. Pines. That doesn't concern me at all, but I just want to put on the record that I knew your father very well in law school. We were pretty close friends in law school, but I don't have any contact and haven't for years, but I did want to put that on the record. So I would like you to talk for a few minutes or a minute or so about the crime that you're seeking a pardon for and how you got involved in that, and how you ended up with a conviction for this.
Absolutely. So early last decade, I sold marijuana to my collegiate sports captain, who had promised to make me the captain in subsequent years. The reason I did that is to fill out a application package for an officer billet with the Navy. I had been an Eagle Scout, but it just simply wasn't enough. And I thought, I clearly made the wrong choice in how I sought that position, but that's why I did it. And so I didn't know that she had been working as a confidential informant to reprieve herself of her own troubles. But that deal that was subsequently offered to me, I refused, and thus I was convicted.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cindy?
Good morning. Mr. Pines mentioned that you're back in Wisconsin. Can you tell us how long you've been back and what you're doing here now? Are you working or?
Sure. I've been back since December 15th. The reason is you only get one set of parents. And I have been working as a lumber stacker. I stack lumber. I've got some competitive job offers. Better, good work. I'd really like to pursue. But pardon is more than that. I mean, you guys know more than anyone. It's not just about your restitution of rights or your ability to find work. It's a deeper process with more heavy implications. And I'd like to be restituted if you'll help me.
Thank you.
Jerry?
Where are you living now?
In Mount Horeb, sir.
Okay. With your folks?
No, sir. I live next to Brunzell Lumber where I stack wood.
Oh, okay. Okay. And are you involved with a temple now that you're back?
Sure.
Which one?
The conservative one in Matter of Best Israel.
Okay, good. All right. Just a couple of blocks from where I am now. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Oh, Jerry?
I just want to thank Lester Pines for the documentation he submitted with your application and about the relationship between UW-Whitewater and the Whitewater Police Department. This board has seen a number of cases very similar to yours. And Lester's note gave us some insight into exactly what was going on down there. So thank you for that, Lester.
You're welcome. And could I ask Brett to just comment on his coding and his potential for using that in the future?
Okay. I was trained as a JavaScript and React programmer in an intense 5-month course, which I was also, as I said, living in the basement and working as a janitor. And it's not an easy skill. It's definitely challenging. And the applications for these tech companies, you know, they get to pick the cream of the crop. I'm sure you're aware of Epic and how people come from the world over. And, you know, I can swing with them when it comes to code and competence and what have you, but there are, you know, other parts to that application, and having a felony on your background is disabling. You know, I know that it's not supposed to be, but this is how it is.
Any further questions from the board? Brenton, Lester, thanks for your time this morning. You'll be hearing from us in the next few weeks in terms of this board's determination. If your application is forwarded to Governor Evers, Brenton, the governor's determination. But thank you for your time and
thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Next up, we have Gordon Schultzes. So Gordon, there you are. If you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself. Hey there, Gordon. Looks like we're having a little bit of a connection problem. All right.
There we go.
Sounds good. All right. I think we can hear you now. So Gordon, you've seen how this works. So if you wouldn't mind just proceeding with sharing your story with us.
I was convicted of growing marijuana. It was just for my personal use. I received 20 days jail time, 2 years probation. There was no problems at all during my probation. The reason I'm going for this, I like to spend a lot of time with my grandkids to be able to hunt with them and teach them how to hunt. And I've got some pretty young ones, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I'd like to be able to teach them how to hunt and do things right.
Could you describe, Gordon, a little bit about exactly what your underlying crime was? You mentioned it was for growing marijuana, but can you describe that a little bit more in terms of how much were you growing and how did you end up getting caught?
There was actually 9 plants, I think. I got hurt on the railroad and a back and a neck injury. And I thought smoking marijuana would be help me with the pain that I was going through at the time. It was very stupidest thing on my part I've ever did in my life. And I really regret it for my not being able to be with my grandkids and helping them out. My life revolves around my grandkids. And they want to hunt. I mean, I go fishing with them and stuff, but it was just a stupid thing on my part.
Thanks, Gordon. Do members of the board have questions for Gordon?
Not really.
Jerry?
Gordon, you were growing this marijuana to help manage your pain. How are you managing your pain these days?
Aleve, Advil. Just basically, I'm just living through it. I'm 71 years old, so I got a little aches and pains here and there anyhow.
Don't I know it? All right, thanks.
Any further questions for Gordon? All right, well, thanks a lot, Gordon. Usually that's a good sign. And so appreciate you sharing your story with us, and we'll be in touch in the near future.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, next up we have Thomas Simonson. So it looks like you're already unmuted. So Thomas, please proceed.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. My name is Thomas Simonson, and I'd like to thank you guys for hearing my request. I was charged in 1989, and I was arrested for possession of marijuana with intent to deliver. And after that, I got a lawyer and pleaded no contest to it because basically I was guilty of it. I got set up by a confidential informant that was a friend of mine, and he had gotten in some trouble, so he figured he'd get himself out of his trouble by setting me up. And so he called me and asked me if I could get him some marijuana, and being a friend of mine, and at that time I was a smoker and I had a few connections, so got it for him and went to give it to him, and he said he didn't have any money, so he knew I'd keep it with me until he had money. And I went to work that night, and then he called the police and told them everything that there was to know about it. And basically when I got off of work, I was arrested right after that. I just want to go on record as saying I haven't smoked marijuana now in over 25 years. And since that incident happened, I got sentenced to 20 days in jail and a year of probation and just a $30 in court costs. And I served all my time. I had Huber, and basically that's a way past part of my life and not who I am anymore. Since then, I've learned to trade. I worked for the same, I install retail interiors now. I've worked for the same company for over 18 years. And unfortunately, because of COVID, I've had to recently switch jobs, but I'm still in the retail interior business. And the reason I'd like a pardon is because some of the accounts that the places that I work for do work in airports, like HMS Host and things like that. And you got to get security clearances in to be able to work past security in airports. And the main reason I'd like to get a pardon is because I'd really like to go deer hunting with my dad. He owns 40 acres up north in Rusk County. And I've actually never gone deer hunting before, but he's getting up in age and just something I've always kind of wanted to do, but he knows that I'm a convicted felon and can't carry a firearm. So he's expressed a interest in having me do this and try and get the pardon so I can get a felony conviction, taken off so that I'd be able to actually get a hunting license and take care of that. I got married in 2006. I was never married before that, a single guy all along. And since then, I own 2 houses and putting my stepson through college right now. He actually graduates this year from UW Milwaukee. And that's about what I've been up to. Working hard and staying clean. Haven't had any instance or contacts with police since this incident.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Do members of the board have questions for Thomas? Well, I think you have a fairly straightforward case. Really appreciate you sharing your time with us, Thomas. And as I've said a couple times now, we'll be in touch in the near future in terms of the board's determination.
All right. I appreciate you guys hearing me. Thank you very much.
All right. Next up, we have, looks like on the phone, we have Lillian McClue. Lillian, if you wouldn't mind just unmuting yourself. We can hear you. So now, yep, I can hear you. So now it's your time to share your story with us. So please proceed.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to state my case. So I was charged with manufacturing and delivering drugs. The thing is, as a child, from the time I was 4 till I was 12, I was sexually, molested by my god brother, and I don't know. I had I guess I turned to drugs to ease my pain from that situation that I had went through, and I had started using drugs. So to support my habit, I sold drugs to support my habit. And since I've been released, I've had 6-month boys walk across the stage. I haven't had any trouble except for I had an incident with my kid's father. And I haven't been in trouble with the law since 2002. I did my probation. I served 7.5 months in the House of Correction, and I did all my time. I did everything that they asked me to do as far as being on probation, and I have not did anything else to have police involvement. And I've been an active member of my church. I have did community service. I did community service for Lena Taylor, and I do community service once the church opened back up. I'm still doing community service, and I just would like for this to be released off of my record because I'm trying to open up a daycare, and I just don't want anything to stop me from opening this daycare.
Great. Thank you, Lillian. I'll open up to the board. Do members of the board have any questions? Jerry, did you have a question?
Yes. Lillian, do you do childcare as part of your personal care work?
Actually, I'm in the midst of doing becoming a foster parent. I can't do child care until I'm done. Well, they advised me not to do child care until the kids that I'm currently getting ready to receive is like if they leave or, you know, if they come of age of 18 and older. So I think that the kids that I'm getting ready to get, they are 16 and it's two twins that's 12 years old. So they will be in my custody. And they will be in my foster care until they turn 20.
Wow.
And yeah, so they told me that they didn't want me to really do the daycare right now. So once the kids, till they turn 18, I'm sorry. The kids, once they leave, then I would like to open up my daycare.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I wanted to put my, once I did that, I wanted to put it out there on social media as for my daycare, but I don't want anybody looking at my past and saying that they don't want their, kids in my daycare because of my past, but it was so long ago. And, but I give all honor to God for not letting me relapse. I have never relapsed. I have never touched drugs. I have never touched alcohol since this has occurred. So.
Thank you.
Judge Kremers?
Ms. McElroy, you have a very nice letter in your file from Ashante Hamilton. Can you tell me how you know Mr. Hamilton?
That is my baby cousin. Yeah, that's my baby cousin.
That description, but okay, it's a very nice letter. You should be proud of it. And of your
yeah, I cried. I actually cried when I received it from him. Well, we grew up together, so
Well, he's doing a great job for the city of Milwaukee. So
yes, he is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? All right. Well, thanks, Lillian, for sharing your story with us today. I know it's not an easy thing to do in a forum like this, but I appreciate it. And as I've said before, we'll be in touch in the next few weeks in terms of determination on your application.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Lillian, and stay warm.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Next on our agenda, we have, looks like Richard Meadle. And Richard, looks like you're already unmuted.
Yes, sir.
All right. So Richard, please proceed.
Hey, my name is Richard Meidel. I was back in the early 80s, I got myself addicted to cocaine. Some friends of mine said, here, try this. So I did. And if anybody knows, being addicted to cocaine, it can be really, really expensive. The only way I could afford it was to start selling it. So I would sell a little bit, do the rest up. And that didn't last long before I got caught. And I take full responsibility for that, which was actually a good thing because they gave me 9 months in jail to get unaddicted to it. And I did my 9 months in jail, 4 years of probation. I had no problems whatsoever with the probation officer or anything. During my, after I got busted, I fully cooperated with the investigators They even put that in the newspaper. To this day, I'm still getting threats for being a snitch. So, I did what I had to do. After I got off probation, I got a job for the Kohler Company. I've been working there for 29 years. I got in that Kohler Company. I recently retired. My wife passed away 2 months ago, so now I'm all alone. And I'm 63 years old. That was a half a lifetime ago. I got myself in trouble. I got an addiction. Haven't gotten into any trouble since then. I've been a good model citizen. I raised a family. You know, I made a mistake, you know, and I really feel like I've led a good life, a good person. I never caused anybody any trouble. And I like to add also that before this, I'm an honorably discharged Navy veteran. I forgot to put the DD 214 in my application. As soon as I sent it out, I realized that, but I served my country. You know, I really feel that I served my sentence and I should, you know, be let go of this burden. It really is a burden to have that over your head. My family, I have a big family. They want to take me hunting too. And I don't know, I can't do that. And some of my grandchildren, they don't know that I'm a convicted felon. They're trying to talk me into going hunting up north and stuff. And I can't, you know, it's embarrassing to tell your grandchildren you're a felon. And like I said, I feel that I lived a good life and I really would like to be released from this burden with your help, if that'd be possible. I thank you. You know.
Richard, and very sorry to hear about your wife. Do members of the boards have questions for Richard? Jerry?
I'm also sorry to hear about your wife. You spent 6 years in the Navy?
4 years, sir.
4 years.
75 to 79.
Okay. And I noticed you were born in Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Yes, sir.
Did you come from a military family?
Yes, sir. My dad was in the Army right after I was born. Even my mom moved back to Darmstadt, Germany, and we didn't move back to Wisconsin, Whitelaw, until I was 5 years old. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, Richard, for sharing your story with us, and we'll be in touch in the near future in terms of the board's determination.
Well, thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. All right. Next up on our agenda, we will be hearing from Teresa Schultz. So, Teresa, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera, now is your chance to share your story with us. So, please proceed.
Hello. I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I never thought I'd be able to tell my story and have this. On my application, I said I was 17 when I committed my crime, but actually doing math, I believe I was 18. I got convicted of bringing contraband into the county jail. I was having a rough patch. I was making very poor decisions. I was on Huber at the time when I committed this crime. I was released to go to a McKinley charter school and to do work. And I was working at Hardee's in the evening. And I was having trouble sleeping, and I was talking to another inmate about this, and they gave me the suggestion to bring some sleeping pills in. And at that time, in my thought process, I thought, why not? That sounds like something that would help. And I am always been ashamed of that because that's not how I think now. But at that time, I did it, and I put them in my vagina, brought them in, got through the search, and went back to my cell, and I took them out. I gave that inmate 8 of them, and I kept 8, and I put them in my cell. I didn't think anything more of it. I hadn't taken any. I got released the next day to go to work, and when I came back, there was a suicide note on my bed from the inmate that I gave the medicine to. That moment changed my life forever. I realized that my decisions don't just affect me, they affect everyone around me. And I was so scared that someone would have died because of my behavior. I did a lot. I had a rough couple of years, and I would have I just didn't see, I have no words for how I felt at that moment. So I immediately went and got to the guards and I told them everything. I never once thought about what kind of trouble I'd get in, because that didn't cross my mind. So I got help, and the girl had other medicine she took, and they got her to the hospital. She was fine. And my Huber got revoked. I went to court and they gave me added 30 days to my sentence. And so I finished my time, but during that time I had no other trouble. I got my HSED while I was in lockup. And I knew after getting out of jail, I knew I had to make some changes because I didn't want this life anymore. I knew I could do better. I just needed, apparently, this kind of wake-up call, and I've never ever forgot about this moment. I've carried that with me, and I used that. So I set a goal that I didn't want to live down this path. So when I make choices, I ask myself, is this reflecting the goals that I've had? So I got released, and I had some challenging moments. Some of the highlights, I've had amazing things come across my path. In 2004, I got hired at Walmart, and that was a big thing because I had a lot of smaller jobs but Walmart started a path for me. I met a great support people. That's when I had my daughter. She changed my life more than I could ever imagine. I met my husband, have a son. I'm active in their elementary. I've had challenges with that. When I go to do stuff when they were in elementary, I had to fill out a background check. I had to meet with the superintendent in the Chippewa to say about my record with this felony. And I was approved, and I did a lot of class work with them. I did field trips. I was very blessed to have that opportunity to be a part of my children's life that I didn't really have that kind of role models as a child. So I've really worked hard to provide a stable, loving life that I never had. And I wanted my children to have better. I ended up going to school for AODA at CVTC. I graduated with honors. That program it changed my life. I learned so much, and I can't even put into words. It inspired me to continue on. Unfortunately, I was not able to obtain employment. I struggled. I had to settle for a different job because I needed to support my family. So I've been working at this place now for 8 years, Midwest Manufacturing. But it's given me the opportunity. I own a house. We have roots in Chippewa Falls, and I am grateful for that. And I volunteer. We've fostered animals for the Eau Claire Humane Society. We did that. The family really enjoyed that. We have done, besides my school, I got involved in Spirit of Christmas. So we donate bikes at Christmas time. I have a higher goal this year. I'm hoping to do 4. So I've taken something that could have sent me down farther down, but I took it and I've made a life. I've created something that I love, and I just would we're in a place where I want to travel. I want to travel abroad. I want to visit my sister-in-law's family in Canada. I want to experience that. I have a 10-year anniversary coming up, and I want to take our family and go into Europe or something. This year, I want to step into a different kind of career. I'd like to go back to school, but I don't want to think, is it going to be okay with my record? I really found a passion. I like working with children. You make such a big impact on young people's lives, and I want to be that stepping stone for someone that needs to reach out for something. I want to help a child, and I would like to look into the school system or something along those lines, whether daycare, but I want to do something with children. So that's why I've applied for this pardon, is so that I can break free of the last of kind of what might be holding me back. So I just really want to say thank you so much. I never thought I would I'm just really thankful.
Great, thanks, Teresa.
Mhm.
Do members of the board have questions for her? Well, I think you did a good job explaining yourself. So as I've told other people, we'll be in touch with you in the near future, Teresa, but thank you for sharing your story. I know it's not easy to do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. All right. And then the final person we have on our agenda is Keisha Christensen. So Keisha, if you wouldn't mind turning your video on, if you're able. There you go.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, good. Well, you're the last person we have with us today, so you've seen how this works, so please proceed.
Okay, first I would like to thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to share my story and listen to me. In 2005, I was convicted of possession with intent to deliver. It was, I think, over 40 grams of crack cocaine. It's really not an excuse for doing what I did, but I struggled a lot trying to keep a job and take care of 5 kids by myself. And I would lose multiple jobs because the kids were sick and I had to call in, or I didn't have a babysitter, so I had to call in. So what I thought at the time was easier was doing that. You know, now that I'm older and wiser, I know I thought it was smarter, but now I know it was easier. I did this with other people, and when I got caught, Robert Wells in Sheboygan was my lawyer, and he became my lawyer because he had represented my son in a case when he was a teenager, and he heard it over the CB and came to the house to, find out what was going on. I didn't have to pay him. He wasn't on retainer. I didn't have to pay him. He did his services for free because he thought that I was a good person and a great mother. He gave me the opportunity to actually just tell on everybody that I worked with, and I would be free of what I did. But at that time, I just felt like, what lesson would I learn and would it stop me? If I told on somebody else, I would continue to doing what I was doing and eventually get caught again doing it. So I stood up and put my big girl pants on, and I faced the music. I pleaded not guilty and fought it for a while. Then I changed my plea because it was a lie. I was guilty. So I changed my plea, and Robert put in a plea of no contest. And I was sentenced to 3 years in and 5 years supervision. After a year and a half, I did my time at Robert E. Ellsworth, or however you say it. And after a year and a half, I got into the early release program. But before my time with the early release program, I took the time, I got my HSED, I took a college communication course, anything that the prison had that I felt that could help me and make me better, I took it. Money management, cognitive thinking, just all different types of things. I worked outside of the prison and stayed out of trouble while I was there. When I got into the early release program, I took everything they taught me to heart, everything, even from a letter my son wrote. He quoted the lyrics of a Lil Wayne song, and my social worker didn't know that it was a song, and she felt that I was teaching my kids to be on a pedestal. And she felt the reason why I was in the trouble that I was because I was on a pedestal and thought I was better than everyone. I did explain to her that it was a song, but I got where she was coming from. So I did take everything to heart. When I got out, the remaining time that was left on my sentence, they put it on my probation, and I got off probation 3 years early. I had 2 probation officers. I never was in any trouble while I was on probation, anything like that. My oldest son wanted to do music, and my husband did music, and I managed them. I let my PO know at that time that, you know, a lot of the shows that we did would cause me to be in a bar setting, but I wouldn't be drinking. And she gave me the permission to do it. So, because I didn't want to run into either somebody calling her, telling her I was at a bar, or something happening at the bar and she found out I was there. So I was honest with that. When she let me off 3 years early, she told me I deserved it and she didn't want to see me again. After my felony, when I first got out of jail, I got a job at Applebee's because that was the first job that I could get. And I also enrolled in school. I went to Kaplan College for medical office specialist. I graduated with honors. I worked at Applebee's until I got ready to leave Milwaukee. I just didn't like Milwaukee. I just didn't want to be in that area. And I moved to Manitowoc, Wisconsin. And when I first moved there, it was hard. I could not find a job. You know, it was just so hard. I did something I should have done to keep myself out of trouble and lean on people that was willing to help. So I leaned on some family members that helped me keep my bills up and take care of my kids until I found a job. Then in the meanwhile, I had some relatives that didn't have babysitters, so they can go to work. So I watch their kids while they go to work and make some money to help pay my bills and take care of my kids. I struggled hard trying to find a job. I went from job to job, and I kept trying to find a higher paying job where I could pay everything without stressing out. So cognitive thinking helped me out a lot. You know, I took my thought process and figured, I could work multiple jobs. 8 + 8 is 16. If I work 2 jobs, I'm making $16 an hour. So that's what I did. I worked 2 full-time jobs while fighting with my husband to get a job to help. I haven't been in any trouble since I got in that trouble. My name did come up with my husband's brother who was selling drugs, and they came to my house looking for him, and the detectives threatened to arrest me because I had the background. And after that little situation was over, I told my husband his brother wasn't allowed at my house anymore because I'm trying to stay out of trouble. I'm trying to be a good citizen. I also went back to school and got my associate's degree in business management. I think my GPA was like a 2.9 with that one. And I got my bachelor's degree with human resource, and I graduated with honors in that class. I finally found a job that gave me a chance without looking at my background, and that's Planet Fitness, which I'm currently with now. And I've been with them. This month will be 5 years. I started with them February 16th of 2016. And I started with them overnight, making $9 an hour. The person that was my manager, me and her are good friends now. She liked my work ethic. She liked how quick I learned everything. So she asked me to move to day shift. I moved to the day shift, and I left and went to Memphis, Tennessee, because I didn't want to be in Wisconsin anymore. And that was September of 2016, which in October, Planet Fitness called me back and asked me to manage a new store that they was opening up in Marinette. I took the position, came back to Wisconsin. I managed Marinette for a year and a half, 2 years, year and a half, something like that. Then I went to Fond du Lac, and now I am in West Bend for them. They send me where the clubs are struggling, and I'm the person that fix it up and bring it up to the top of the charts. I want to be pardoned, and I feel that I should be pardoned because I really, 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 really have taken to heart what I did wrong. And I know that it wasn't a mistake. it was a bad choice. Because a mistake you don't do over and over again. I did that over and over again. So it wasn't a mistake, it was a bad choice. And I thought it was making me a better parent because I wasn't getting evicted. I was paying the bills, taking care of my kids. And while I was in prison, I sat down and realized I'm in prison, I'm away from my kids. This makes me the worst mother ever. You know, I'm missing a lot of stuff. My oldest son graduating out of 8th grade, graduating out of junior high, him being on the basketball team and some of the opportunities that he had to be on the basketball team, he missed those because of me. And I sit back today and I still think about those things. I still think about the things that I've done. I have a lot of younger kids and a lot of my kids' friends that I mentor and try to help them stay out of trouble. I've opened my door and gave them a place to stay. If they didn't have a place to stay, you know, I've helped them, you know, with school supplies and things like that if their parents couldn't afford it so that they wouldn't be out here doing wrong. I have 5 managers under me in Planet Fitness where I've taken people that didn't have a chance in life and hired them and just mentored them and gave them the notion that they can do it. And now for Planet Fitness, I've started 5 different managers for them because of that reason. A letter that I had in my file is from one of those ladies. She was a troubled young girl on drugs, in trouble with the law. And when I hired her, she was doing a program. I can't think of the name of the program, but she was doing a program and I stayed with her through the whole steps of her program. She now manages the Marinette location. Another reason why I would like to be partners is because I have a lot of medical issues, and with my medical issues, the work with Planet Fitness is becoming too hard for me. It's too physical and it's becoming too hard for me to do. And I just feel like I got all these degrees and certificates and I could go to work in a field that I went to school for since I got to pay all that money back. And I also want to open up my own business. I have a brilliant idea of opening up my own business where my kids can open up a business. I can help each one of my kids open up a business and it'll all fall under the umbrella of my business. And that would leave something for them to give to their kids without anybody having to struggle or ever go through what I went through.
Do members of the boards have questions for Ms. Christian? Jerry?
Yeah, what happened to your kids while you were in prison?
My dad took them. So he moved them to Chicago and he took care of them. And he brought them to visit me once a month.
Okay. And how are they doing now?
How's my dad doing now?
No, well, how are your kids doing now?
My kids are doing well. My oldest son just moved to Marietta, Georgia, and he is a general manager, assistant general manager for Hilton down there. My 2 daughters, both are CNAs, and one is in school to be a surgical tech, and the other one is finishing up her bachelor's degree in human resource. My 4th child is, he works at a factory in Manitowoc, and my baby, he was managing for Planet Fitness in Appleton, but now he works for a staffing company and planning on going back to school once he catch up with all his bills.
Oh, good for you. That's impressive.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the board? Well, thanks, Keisha. I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I know it's not easy. Like I said, we'll be in touch with you in the next few weeks in terms of the outcome of this whole process. So you'll be hearing from us in the not too distant future, but have a good weekend and stay warm.
You too. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Next up, we will be moving, I'm going to be making a motion to move into closed session pursuant to WISTAT sections 19.85. I'm sorry? Oops. Pursuant to WISTAT section 19.85 sub 1 paragraphs A, D, and F for purposes of deliberation concerning a case which is before the board for purposes of considering specific applications and for purposes of considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories of specific persons. Does anybody second that motion? Jeff,
I'll second.
we'll count you as a yay then, Nadia. Anybody opposed? Hearing none.